Hey guys, I'm John. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here in Forestburg with my big blue beautiful Alberta flag showing my support for Alberta Independence. And I came here because I work in this area and I was checking the Stay Free Alberta website to see if they have any available permanent signing locations here. And I didn't see any. And so it got me thinking, maybe these small towns haven't been able to sign yet. Maybe people here haven't been able to sign yet. So I figured I'd come here and walk around and try to see if I can gather up some support, try to find out what people think. But here's the truth, guys. I don't expect to talk to anybody because I came here at like 5 o'clock on a Monday. And if you know anything about small towns, you know, it's probably going to be dead here. But I figured I'd show up. There's a couple people driving around there. Some people driving over there. I saw some people coming out of the post office. And even in a big city, you know, it's kind of weird to be walking around with the flag. So especially in a small town, it's probably super duper weird. But I want to find out if people here have been able to sign yet. And, you know, what got me thinking, okay? Because last week, we did a convoy that was kind of a flop. I'll just straight up admit it. We had about 20 people show up in Red Deer, and then we drove to Calgary, and then there was about 10 more people meeting us there. And you know, it was kind of encouraging for those of us, but it's nowhere near as big as it needs to be. And then I was talking to a friend. I'm like, why do you think that convoy failed? And he said, you know what, John, you need to have a purpose. There needs to be a reason why people all get together to do something, not just go for a fun little drive. And so I was thinking, well, you know what? Combine this with this problem here. If it's true that here in a town like Forestburg, you know, doesn't have a permanent signing location, maybe there's no volunteers here. There's the Forestburg Hotel. I'm gonna walk that way. Many horses. Well, maybe that's the case. Okay, well then, what do? We have a convoy-ish kind of thing. We don't have to drive down the highway with our flags because these secondary highways don't really have a lot of traffic anyway. So we're not really showing that much of a presence. But we get like 5 canvassers, I envision. At least 5. And then maybe 10 other volunteers. More the better. 15, 20 volunteers. And then we drive out to a town like this on a set day, and we all walk around with our flags like this, and we just really get noticed, like a little parade in the town. And then try to drum up support. And I'll bet you we can clean up the whole town here in, here comes the first truck that I'm seeing. I bet you we can clean up the whole town in a short amount of time. Let's see if I can get a wave, flag wave. No, totally throwing people off. What do you guys think about that? My email is published for this channel. It's johnfromalberta@yahoo.com. If you're a canvasser, send me an email, and we'll see if we can get 5 or 6 of us, you know, together, or canvassers, and then like another 10 or 15 people who want to volunteer to come in and just wave the flags and bring it in. And if we get enough people, then we can, you know, try to coordinate this as best as I can. Then we'll maybe hit 5 or 6 towns all at the same time. Look at that train station. Isn't that kind of a cool museum? I don't want to just loiter in front of the grocery store. That guy saw me and just went in straight away, so... I don't know, guys, you can call me weird for doing this, but I really love the idea of Alberta becoming an independent country. And so that aside, please email me, leave a comment below, tell me what you think. I got thick skin. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was a mistake that I made. So I woke up this morning and I checked X. Right before I got out of bed and went to work, I checked X. And don't ever check that up first thing in the morning. It is a dumpster fire. Okay, there's nothing good on that app that's gonna brighten your day up. Put good thoughts in your head. You know, say a prayer first thing in the morning. Clear up your mind. But I checked X and somebody was arguing about a post that I'd posted where I was like, once Alberta leaves, Canada's not going to survive because the only thing holding us together is Alberta's money. See if I can get a... No, guys, it's really super weird doing this in a small town. So anyway, I was arguing with somebody about this, and then they said some kind of complicated economics argument. Our GDP is the 13%. We don't represent anything, significant. If Alberta leaves, we're going to go broke. Like, they kind of laid it out like that, the standard argument. And then I got into the weeds a little bit, where I was like, GDP only measures economic activity, and of course, bigger populations are going to have bigger GDPs, and really we should be looking at GDP per capita, and really we should be looking at all the government regulations that are causing Alberta to have such a low GDP because it'd probably double the day we leave. And I was like going into the weeds like that, and then I just realized, you know what? We got to leave those big complicated arguments for the professionals. I'm not an economist. Yeah, I got a background in, I got a college degree, right? But that doesn't make me an economist. I'm not an authority on this, and I'm going to screw it up and make myself look bad, right? If you get into these complicated arguments. And I've heard other YouTubers do this as well. Some notable YouTubers who, they got their thing that they talk about, but then every now and then they just get pulled into the weeds on these kind of really complicated arguments that probably are valid. But I was thinking, you know what, leave those things to the professionals, to Mitch Sylvester, and leave it to Jeff Rath and those guys, right? The lawyers and the economists. We need to talk about the things that we can talk about. Our story. What inspires us? Why do we support this movement? And and there's a couple, I don't want to name the guy, right? But there's one good YouTuber who I really heard doing this, and I'm like, man, you got so much of a better story. Why are you going down this path of economics? Like, you didn't do a good job, and it's not helping us. So, okay, now let me try to do my own thing here. I realized after thinking about this economics argument all day, I don't actually support Alberta Independence because of the idea that our economy would just boom, right? I would actually support this even if it meant that our economy would go downhill. I mean, obviously, if it would be completely tanked, I wouldn't support it, but there is a limit. If it meant like we came out and we lost like 10% and we were just like not competitive, I'd probably still support this, okay? And you might disagree with me on that, and that's good, because the economics argument is strong, and I'm not saying that, that's like if that's a good reason, is what I'm saying. But the reason I support Alberta Independence is because I truly value freedom, and I don't want to go along on this ride with Canada. We're going down this woke utopia kind of socialist, like, I don't want to go down this path. The risk of staying in Canada is just too high. And it's not just economic. Yeah, our economy is going to tank. Like, Canada is looking down a sovereign debt crisis, just like many other countries around the world, to be fair. But we're beating them. We're printing so much money, causing so much inflation, But then all the policies that are just like hindering free speech and censoring the internet and censoring what you can say, like even in church, right? They want to make it illegal to preach the Bible. I never thought in a million years that Canada would get to that point. I used to be so proud of this country. And it just seems like every day there's another little woke, stupid thing, or now they're going to be conscripting or hiring foreign people to come join our military, and like that's how we're going to get our numbers up. It's like, if you think for a second that our enemies aren't going to use that, man, what a boneheaded idea. and then they're taking away all the guns. And it's like, okay, there's another issue, so I support Alberta Independence because I want a free country. I want a country with get rights that are inalienable, okay? A lot of Canadians, they think that we have rights just like Americans, and we don't. This is a mistake. We've kind of grew up, when we're kids, we say on the playground, we're like, Canada's a free country, blah, 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 right? It's a free country. No, we have privileges, okay? Americans have rights that are inalienable. And this is a misconception that I'd like to disabuse many Canadians of. Go and read our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's right there for everybody to read. The very first clause basically says the government can take away your rights if it deems that it should be able to do so. The politicians have the right to do that, and they've exercised it before. And man, they exercised it with a vengeance. There were no consequences for blatantly breaking the law during the trucker convoy, putting all those people in jail. And so I want a country with freedom that's guaranteed. And I see so many like-minded Albertans who agree with me on this. Man, look at the Forestburg. They got that rail train beside me. Battle River train excursions. I don't know if you know that, but you can go ride the train there, I think. And I got my thumbnail. Hope we get a good flag wave. Pardon me, guys, but I like to make my thumbnails real. Not too much AI. But okay, so I was daydreaming the other day, like what would we put in this new constitution of ours? Well, there's so many like-minded Albertans who are thinking the same way. They support, hey, how's it going? I missed it. I'm a totally weirdo walking around. If you live in a small town, you've probably never seen a guy waving a flag before. It is super weird, even though it's an Albertan flag. You live in the big cities, you see people waving flags all the time, but you probably never see people waving Alberta flags, if you get my drift. But I'm encouraged because so many people are thinking about this now. What would we put in it? Well, I just want to daydream a little bit with you. So I envision a constitution very much similar to the United States. Okay, inalienable rights. They can never be taken away under any circumstances. The only limits you put on it are like some reasonable things, like you can't say things that incite violence and stuff like that, right? But pretty much free speech and freedom of the press and freedom of religion and freedom of conscience and freedom of association. Like, our government in Canada can take those away, and they did. And they've done it, and they'll do it again. Guaranteed, they will do it again. And the next time it happens, it's going to be 100 times worse because they're going to use AI and they're going to use their digital currency that they're going to come out with that Carney's already got planned. And they're going to be able to completely censor you and control every aspect of your life, and you're never going to be free. This is literally your last chance. And you think of being hyperbolic, fine, call me that. All right, but that just means you're misinformed because this is happening. And this is why Albertans want to leave. But that said, I envision a system of government that is also much like the United States, where we have a Senate that is elected, but it's elected for longer terms, maybe even 8 years, right? And you think about the benefit of a Senate is it would be geographically decided upon, so it's not. It doesn't represent the large population centers. It represents the geography, which has a balancing effect to a house, like a Congress, where it's voted on by popularity. And so Congress would make the laws and the Senate would approve the laws. There's your check and your balance. Things can progress, but it's not going to progress rapidly. So we have dramatic changes like we've seen in Canada. Just overnight, the government changes, the firearms. Like that would all have to go through a Congress and then a Senate. And then we'd have a president who could veto. anything and everything for any reason. And that's basically the president's only power, also represent the country and, be the face and sign the laws, right? But veto. And that's the way the U.S. system's set up. And then Supreme Court would be appointed, and the Supreme Court would interpret all of the laws and be able to overturn anything. And, they would be free from political influence. Don't make them elected. But I don't know, you got to think about how that is, because the United States, they kind of have a bit of a problem where once a president gets in, just by the luck of the draw, they're able to appoint 3 or 4 justices, and then they appoint young ones, and then it just gets locked in forever. So I haven't quite thought that one out. Leave a comment below what you think we should do about that problem. But another thing would be public servants. Term limits for everything. So we could have maybe tiers of public service where it'd be like, okay, you serve on the library board in Airdrie. Okay, you can do that for like 2 terms and then you're out, no matter what, right? And then maybe because, that could be a stepping stone to a better career, you could move up to you could serve as a municipal councillor or something, 2 terms and then you're out. So it'd be like level 1, middle entry, level 2, kind of higher entry political servants. And then level 3 would be you serve for a higher federal, not federal, but you serve in as a president or something like that. I don't know, but I really like term limits because I don't want to have a government with a professional class of people. With a professional class of people. Hey. Doesn't look at me. Maybe this town is just all anti-Alberta. Or maybe it's just I'm weird. Surprise people. But I don't want to have a class of political people who just, that's all they do with their whole life is they just work for the government. And then they basically all just get their full lifetime pension for, 2 terms or 3 terms of work or something like that. And then they cross back over into lobbying. We need to deal with that. So we need to rein in how many public officials, how long they can reign for. Even the fact that I use that word kind of implies what it's actually all about. Signature tires. So that's what I envision. Well, those guys see me. I didn't expect a lot here. So what else would I want in my new daydream of what the Republic of Alberta could be? Just a constitution that guarantees rights. That's what I want. And so, guys, that's my dream for this, and that's why I'm supporting this, and that's why I'm out here doing this. Every single day you got to do something. Call me a little bit extreme, but I never thought in my life that I would be the guy standing out on a street corner, waving a flag, trying to bring people in and try to, separate from Canada. And I just use that word. We need to separate. Originally I was like, let's use independence because it sounds a little bit more sanitary. But no, just own it. They're going to keep calling us separatists. And it is actually true. I do want to separate. So speak the truth, Speak the truth, and the truth will set you free. So what else can you do? What can you do today to wake up and to show your support for Alberta Independence? You can make a video like this. It doesn't have to be walking around on the street corner. You could be sitting in your house, and you could just make a short little video about this is why you supported, and you went out and signed, and see if your friends and family supported as well. I'll bet you that a lot of people who support this are on the fence about publishing it and advertising it because we're afraid of being canceled. That's the state that we're in, actually. That is why we need to do it even more. Because did you ever think that it would get to this point in Canada where you thought if you stood up for something political that you would lose your job? I don't think that, you know, or that you would get in trouble with your friends and family. Maybe, I guess, you know, there's some issues, right? But the way I see it, this is our last chance. And so I think I'm going to end this video, guys, but please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if you're interested in helping out with this. I wanted to walk to this beautiful fire station. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. And there's somebody. No eye contact. You know, actually, I want to say one more thing before I end this. I've done a lot of flag waving over the last little while. And one thing I've noticed is that there's really 3 types of people that I see. There's the types that just get really supportive and they just get excited. They jump up and down. And then there's the types that look at me curiously and they don't know what to think. And then there's the types that are just like, they're the opposed, and I can tell they're opposed to it. And they've taken to calling us losers, and they've taken to calling us traitors, and like calling us all kinds of names. But when they mock, that's actually a form of denial. Like they're trying to deny that we even exist. Like just mock us down. Like you're such a small group. There's only one of you walking around the street corner. Don't make eye contact. Or even some people are like, they'll swear at you, right? But it actually encourages me more. Like I like when they do that because I'm standing up for something. I'm doing what my conscience tells me to do. I'm doing something that I really believe in. What are they doing? They're just driving around mocking people. And pick a side if you're in the middle. Do you want to be on the side where we have a vision for the future, where we want to actually fix things and bring everybody together and unify this country as Albertans? Or do you want to be on the side of these people who just mock and they have no argument and they're just angry and they threaten violence against some of the people as well? Like, what side do you want to be on? So please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Cheers.